Hello everyone and welcome to another video here on the Cycling Day Extra channel. And as always, I'm joined by Patrick Blake of Audio Cycling as we go through the final monument of the season, Il Lombardia. And Patrick, what exactly happened?
Yeah, so Il Lombardia today taking place from Como to Bergamo, 241 kilometers with Tadej Pogačar as the pre-race favourite. We see pretty early on a fairly substantial breakaway forms, including the likes of Quinn Simmons, Vavaka, three riders from Ineos, Ganna, Langelotti, and Lucas Hamilton, Bart Lemon, and some other riders who are up there trying to disrupt kind of the norm of essentially Tadej Pogačar just rolling away with victory. So they decided to try and disrupt things a little bit, and they end up getting not that big of a gap. It was only ever really like 2 minutes or so, but this did increase up to roughly 3 minutes before the Passo della Croqueta, which is 11.7 Ks at 5.8%. Pretty early on in this climb, we see Quinn Simmons attacking that group, and kind of Vavaka is just looking at him like, dude, you're crazy. But Simmons pretty quickly gets a 1 minute, sort of 2 minute gap going up there, and it looks like the kind of peloton's pretty happy with just letting him go and having like a 3 minute gap, and that's kind of like extending a little bit outwards over 3 minutes towards the top, where it gets a little bit steeper. It kind of undulates to the top and then goes up the Zambla Alta, which is at like 10 Ks at 3%. And at the top of that climb, Simmons has just over a 3 minute advantage, but he has to descend off of that on a fairly technical descent and then go into the Passo di Ganda. We see previously on the other climbs, we saw like Ben Healy going out the back and just some other riders starting to struggle, but really the Passo di Ganda is the main event of the whole race, is where realistically all this is going to kick off, and that's what we saw in that valley beforehand. Obviously, Simmons loses a bit of time to the peloton because Sivakov's on the front and they're drilling it. They get a little bit of help. Well, I say help, it was more just a fight for position with Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe and like Visma Lease bike going into the base of the climb. And I think Simmons takes roughly a 2.5 minute advantage into the Passo di Ganda. Pretty early on, we go through, obviously Sivakov goes off of the front. I don't even think Adam Yates hit the front. We see Micah does a pull and gets a big salute from Pogačar once he's done. And then Jay Vine sets about getting to work as well. Everybody's fighting for the wheel of Pogačar. Del Toro sort of sits there as the anchoring man, but you see Evenepoel is up there, Pidcock, Roglic, pretty much hit everybody. Every man and his dog was trying to fight for Pogačar's wheel. Jay Vine sent a pretty infernal pace, brings the gap down to about somewhere between a minute to a minute and 30, and then just his head dips and he flicks his elbow and Pogačar attacks, and that was it. Del Toro's on the wheel and he just let it go, and everybody looks at each other. Nobody tries to follow Poggy, and that gap between Pogačar and Simmons up the Passo di Ganda quickly evaporates. Simmons quite smartly kind of tries to save himself a little bit and sit on the wheel of Pogačar towards the top, but the last few Ks is steeper and it was just not, Simmons gave it his best shot basically, but ultimately Pogačar ending up dropping him as well. Behind we see Del Toro and Seixas get dropped off of that group, so we see Evenepoel, Stora, and then they kind of mopped up Simmons as well towards the top. Seixas and Del Toro dropped. Then there's like a group behind with Bernal, Carapaz, Roglic, and like every other person pretty much that you'd expect to be like a pretty kind of major contender in this race. Going over the top, Simmons gets dropped by Evenepoel and Stora just a little bit, just on a couple of the little ramps. And on the descent, Evenepoel also manages to get rid of Stora just through the infernal number of hairpins that there were. I actually forgot how many there were. This is the one where, I think it's where the descent where Fausto Masnada managed to claw back the deficit he had on Pogačar years ago. But anyway, Pogačar's up the road. He's got like a 1 minute, 1.5 minute advantage over Evenepoel. Evenepoel finishes the descent and he's got about a 10-second advantage on Stora. He's got about a 40-second advantage on Simmons and Del Toro. I think it was just an individual time trial for 10 kilometers. Then at the Colle Aperto, we see Pogačar with amazing fans going up there. He just kind of is taking it all in, and nothing much going on there. It wasn't quite as easy of a run for Evenepoel going up there, it must be said, as a couple of motorbikes collided together and he has to go around it. I was actually quite surprised that Evenepoel kept such a cool head in that, to be honest, because I think I would have been fuming. And ultimately it was just kind of an individual time trial of people to the end there. There was only really motorbikes on like 3 sets of groups, so ultimately, the results of today is that for Il Lombardia, Tadej Pogacar takes the win ahead of Evenepoel, Stora, Simmons, Del Toro, Pidcock, Seixas, Bernal, Vine, and Uijtenbrooks, rounding out the top 10. The gaps get real big, real quick, basically. But yeah, Pogacar takes his 5th Il Lombardia back to back, however many there are in a row. He matches the record, and just insane. Nobody's ever won 5 monuments in a row, or 5 of the same monument in a row in consecutive years. It's absolutely ridiculous. But what did you make of just all of it, Scott? Where do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely incredible achievements, like you said. I mean, he beat the Fausto Coppi record of 5 in a row, like you said. He had 4 in a row for Il Lombardia, but yeah, you said the wider monument achievement. And then, 5 in a row, equaling the record as well. But he looked so in control today. There was just nothing phasing him. We all knew that he was going to win, even doing the chapeau to Rafa Majka with his last turn. Just nobody could do anything. And you did say in the preview that it was going to be the Passo di Ganda, probably where the move happened, but just phenomenal.
Yeah, it really was, wasn't it? It did really seem inevitable that it was going to happen. I was actually just a little bit, I feel like almost he went earlier than I thought he would do on that climb. But I think that was partly because of just the nature of the race and how many teammates he had around him. I think Adam Yates, just like I said, just didn't really ever get to the front just through the fight for positioning at the start. He just never got back to the front because they just started setting such a crazy pace. And I think it was always their plan that Del Toro wouldn't take a pull by the looks of things, that he was essentially going to let the wheel go and then sit on that group and then fight for the best result that he could get. And just in case anything did happen to Pogacar, actually it's quite a good thing that nothing did, because Del Toro wouldn't have won. As a matter of fact. So that was a good thing that for UAE team members that they didn't have to rely on that strategy. But what can you say? Pogacar was just second to none today. I was a little bit worried at one point that I was like, do they know the gap to Simmons? Like, they are aware of that's like 2.5 minutes, but that was just foolish of me to even consider that as a worry, because 2.5 minutes just evaporated.
I mean, that move by Simmons, it seemed crazy at the time, but he finishes 4th place in his first monument since 2021. I think that's quite a feat as well. Obviously, we'll talk about the others, but I thought he was going to disappear and not even finish in the top 10.
Yeah, honestly, I did as well. I thought it was really impressive from Simmons. I mean, obviously, Pogacar's the star of the show, but I think that Simmons' ride was definitely like the second best, because he went from, I can't remember how far out it was exactly, but he went with a few climbs. Yeah, exactly. He was in the break from the start, but then he attacked that break, and he was on an incredible day today in 4th place over terrain, which I wouldn't say is like the Quinn Simmons. Like, if there was all the monuments, I don't think I'd be picking Il Lombardia as the one where he would be finishing 4th place and getting his best monument results. So that was super impressive, and yeah, it definitely makes you think that maybe the only way to get a good result or try and beat Pogacar in any way is to just try and get a head start and be a bit of an underdog and hope that they underestimate you.
One thing which was interesting as well, just continuing the stats achievements, he's the first rider to win back-to-back as well as rainbow jersey as a world champion and Il Lombardia. Nobody's done that. So many accolades. Yeah, where do you rate this in his performances this year? This was very cool, calm, collect, like we saw at the Euros, at the Worlds. Even Trevally Vassin, he didn't attack on a ascent there, he just attacked on a descent there. But where do you rate this performance?
I honestly, I feel like there's been other more impressive performances from Pogacar this year. He still had to be incredible today, but at the end of the day, I feel like people could have put a lot of money on Pogacar to win today, and you would be fairly certain. Of all the races that he's entered this year, I've been almost most certain that he was going to win today. Like, if I didn't watch the race, I wouldn't have been surprised that he wins. So I'm not saying it's like not impressive. I'm just saying that there's probably more impressive results throughout the year. Like his Flanders, I think, was probably a bit more impressive to me than And this or the Strade Bianchi where he crashed and then came back and still won. Yeah, I just think that this is more of a given that he was going to win.
If you put £10,000 on this, they would only give you 10 cents back. If that's how low the odds probably were.
My word, that's terrible.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
I know, right. I thought you were actually checking the betting odds as I was looking.
That would be super bad.
It wouldn't surprise me though, to be honest. Like you put £1 on and you get like £1, 10 pence back.
Last ever race for Rafa Majka, he did a bit of a pull as well. He's a former podium finisher of this race. And Jay Vine, I was really impressed by his turn. He really cut through that gap of Quinn Simmons. But what do you think of the rest of the top 10? Is there anyone there that really shocks you? I mean, Jay Vine even snuck in to top 10 as well, getting a 9th. So they have 3 riders in the top 10, which you actually talked about in the preview that could happen. So well done.
I mean, Stora has got to be the 3rd place, Tudor's 1st monument podium. It's just a really good step up for them, backing up that Alaphilippe victory that they had in Quebec. I think that's really great for Stora, who was definitely in the conversation for a top 10, but I didn't really have him as a podium candidate. I would say probably most surprisingly, I think everybody in the top 10 there, I'm like, that's pretty normal. I was expecting that from Del Toro, to be honest. Him being dropped before Stora was surprising to me. And this reflects in the preview that we did where I thought he was going to finish 2nd, and I thought he'd just be able to follow Evenepoel and then roll him at the end pretty much. So I was quite surprised to see Del Toro dropped, and even though he was on the wheel of Simmons at the end of that descent, I think he ended up finishing on the same time as the group behind. So he ended up 30, 40 seconds behind Simmons. I don't know what happened there because I'd stopped watching the race by that point, but how did he lose 40 seconds to Simmons? Was that on a descent? Was it a mechanical? Did Simmons attack him on that final climb and Del Toro was just completely cooked? I just feel like, given the recent form of Del Toro, I was expecting him to at least be up there with Stora.
I agree. When I saw Del Toro in that second chase group, when Pogacar went, I was like, well, this is going to be a 1-2, 1-3, but yeah, it just didn't happen. Other than that, Remco Evenepoel, we haven't talked about him. Final race, I think, unless he's sent to the Tour of Hongrie, please do it because that will make the race more interesting. Yeah, for Soudal Quickstep, obviously this race, very emotional, almost died in 2020. 2nd place, 2nd year in a row. Yeah, he'll be very annoyed finishing for a 3rd time now in a one-day race in very short succession to Tadej Pogacar.
Yeah, that's the 3rd weekend in a row now.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. That's what he does now.
It was World Champs, and then it was European Champs, and then it's Il Lombardia. 3 weeks in a row, finishing 2nd place in a major one-day race. All of them behind the same guy, Tadej Pogacar. So it will suck for Evenepoel because if Pogacar wasn't there, he would have won all of those, and that would be an absolutely incredible set of results for somebody to have, but 2nd place doesn't quite hit the same heights. So I do feel kind of sad for Evenepoel because he's just been 2nd best, always the bridesmaid and never the bride. So I don't know. I was hoping that he'd get one of these at least, but I don't know. I don't really know what to say. It's not like you can just say, well, he should have just ridden harder and just held the wheel because that's just the worst advice you could give a bike rider. So I think he did do good, to be fair. He was actually a lot better in that descent than I thought he would be, given, like you say, his history of this race. So it's good to see that his descending ability is good. I mean, he dropped Stora off a wheel, despite the fact that he rode all of that last climb and then just towed that kind of slight false flat after it and then still dropped Stora off a wheel. Just shows how strong Evenepoel was. So I think that, then he was kind of matching Pogacar on the flat. And it was still good. It's just not Pogacar, is it?
What do you make of a Davidson of this race, who was actually meant to start last year, Tom Pidcock? I mean, he did crash purportedly at the beginning of the monument, but what do you make of his result here? And apparently he's down for the Gravel World Championships tomorrow. I don't know how that's going to work out.
Oh wow, it's a good warm up. That who needs tapering? That's a terrible idea. I think honestly, Pidcock did good. 6th place. No doubt. I don't know exactly how that 6th place came about. I expect that he may have been, from what we saw on the climb, he was still in that kind of Bernal Roglic group. He was gapped a little bit earlier on. I mean, he looked like he was suffering, but I reckon he definitely gained on that descent because he would have been better than all the other people around him. So he could either have put pressure on other people or kind of used it as an opportunity to recover. So I think that 6th place is really good, although it was on the same time as Del Toro. So maybe they only just caught him on the line. I don't know, but 6th place is still a good result for a guy who rides for a pro conti team. Well, you could say the same about Stora to be fair, but yeah, maybe I was expecting a little bit more from Pidcock. I wasn't really expecting a podium, but maybe a top 5. But you know, he was 1 place away from a top 5, so you can't hold that against him. I think it was still a good ride.
Yeah, they were all kind of in the same group, and then Pidcock almost won the sprint. Who's going to be disappointed about this? I mean, Visma Lease Bike, they didn't send like a star-studded squad out to Brooks. His final monument, his final European race, I think, for Visma Lease Bike getting in 10th place. But any other teams, well, I wouldn't call that a disappointment. I think they're probably kind of content with it. But is there anyone? Roglic?
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Roglic and just Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, I think they put in a lot of work into today, and Roglic ultimately finishing 22nd place, and that is the highest person from the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe team. You know, he finished behind Michael Matthews, who was in the breakaway the whole day. Like, I know Matthews is faster in a sprint, but yeah, Roglic, just when all the TV motos were like reporting the time to group Roglic, and it was just going like back and back, and I was like, gosh, this group must be going really slow. Well, it wasn't the group that was going slow, it was just Roglic. It just seems like he was like right up there at the start of the climb. Like he was up there with you, he was fine for the wheel. I was like, oh my word, I actually completely, I've disregarded Roglic too early. He's going to do really well here. And I was like, gosh, I'm going to look like such a fool. But no, I was rest assured Roglic came through with the goods, and he didn't do anything. So that's fine. I wasn't disappointed, or my hopes weren't shattered or built up in any way. Yeah, that was a big disappointment from Roglic, let's face it. He's had some decent results recently in Giro dell'Emilia, just outside the top 10 of world champs. I think we're all expecting a bit more from him today.
But finishing on that Slovenian, Tadej Pogačar winning his 5th Il Lombardia. This is basically it for our recap race analysis of the Monument. The next one will be in 2026 for Milan-San Remo. But until then, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, because we have plenty more things coming out, and do check out Patrick's own channel, I'll Do Cycling. But for now, thank you for watching, and we will see you around.